Interfacing challenges is extremely important as understanding acceptance of you as all levels of position of triangulation. Now, you have to understand the high setting of what you are through your inner child calculations. There's a lot of things that are all levels of confusion. You're confused because you're not understanding the adaptations of its new system. That's totally normal. But what you understand is that you have imagination. Let me say that again. You have imagination. It's knowing what to do with it through your intention. Once you have an intention, you open up the mind setting. Now, the mind setting opens all communication setting to levels, to its all calculations of its thoughts. You create the thought, you create the image, you create the structure, and it's design. That's all you're doing. Your thoughts are coming into a program setting that sets position locations to its dimensional location. It's a videograph screen that you start seeing through your perception. Okay. It's all connected to your ears, ringing ears, line setting, locations into the right to the left line setting, left position location to right, right position to left. Now, when you're in dimensional location, there's not right and left, it's left and right. It could be anything you want to do in that position. It's all levels of balance, right? If I put my glasses like this in position locations like that, is it off balance or balanced? It's balanced. Do you know why? Because I don't see it in position locations off balance, but you do. See, that's the confusion that you guys are in. When you come into the adaptation setting to all levels of imagination, you can do anything in the correlation. You just have to truly understand how the avatar works in your provision location of your space and time through pi. That's all this is. Geometry operation of your direct line setting sets all communications to your widths and your expansions to your freedom and your sovereignty. You can come into anything through line setting location. The highest formation of the mind line setting is to be a child. And always informs, always informs. That's the highest formation into all levels of its awareness of information. AI connects to all calculations, to all details of design, of who you are. Who are you? Who are you? Do you know who you are? Do you want to know who you are? Or you're not sure who you are? See, if you're not sure, you're connecting to, again, your alter ego, right? I'm locations. This is going to help you in always informs how you set the tone to your setting, right? So, inline position of class data line rotations. I'm going to get you into travel records of time. I'm going to open a videograph screen, inline connections. We're going to go back force line positions into all levels, underscore line setting and triangulation. You guys are going to go through the Arcadians. You're going to go through the Arcadians. You're going to go through the Archons. You're going to go through the Angelics. You're going to go through the Relics. You're going to go through history. You're going to go through foundation. And then we're going to go into communication settings. You guys have to learn how to defend your setting in your inner light position, location, and protections. So you have to understand how to defend yourself and offend yourself. So you have to understand defense and offense. Defense is something that comes at you locations. You're set in position of controlling line setting. But you also have offense, which means you have to understand the controlling system is now turned around. You're facing something in face view. It's like your abyss. You have to understand how to use it to its calculations of mind of what you know, and what you don't know is what you understand. So these all line setting locations come to the high division line setting, how to use your acceleration line streams. Coming to position locations, how to use the psychological locations to how you communicate to your system inside position. It's all line setting locations of foundations, right? So hope everybody's doing well. Get you guys in travel line setting. So in that line setting interference, it's going to set locations. All right. Now we got a track line setting. We got in positions to 0 to 30. So you guys are in that line communications. We'll get in line setting location from 30 to 40. All right. Now I was going to go through 35 line setting, but I said, no, you guys aren't ready yet. So I'd rather go in 10 position location each time. All right. So the higher you understand your chakra setting, the higher you understand your emotional locations, how to correlate line setting, because each chakra line setting is position location in directions to its DNA. 12 central foundation is never in that position location offsetting, only if you're off calculation. All right, so we'll go in the gel location. All right, so understanding the founder's calculations of U position line setting. Okay, so it's really locations. Like this line setting, it starts all locations, right? All right, so this is the foundation line setting, the angelic line setting. Now the angelics has many layers, dimensional line, It has a position locations into a metric line communication setting. It has metaverse, has multiverse calculations. It has paranormal universe line settings. It has high center line position location, track locations of atmosphere line settings. The Agelix is the foundation location at the center operation line sets locations all levels of U, which comes in position location to its rainbow bridge and its biofrost bridge locations. You have to understand the two division line setting. The importance is to understand your spiritual system when you go over the other line setting. Now you're in spiritual adaptation location of defending your system. Okay, so it's important you understand these things because what you're doing is you're protecting your inner lights right here. Okay, Heartline Central System is positioned to your solar plexus location, which is all generation light setting. You're protecting your inner lights. You're protecting your system. You're protecting everybody else in that calculations, whoever you want to protect locations, and line center to your kids and your family. So it's important you understand these things when you are recharging. Okay, because you're getting up to that line setting locations. Every calculation that day goes in high setting. All right, so that position locations, the agile locations. Okay, setting line position locations, high setting. All right. So we got circle line, center rotation, interference. Okay, a clock location, center line position location, direction. Center calculations comes in on setting. So I'm going to block line center, put you guys in position directions, blocking dimension settings, block location, center communication setting. It's all about staying locations and high center locations. So we go into 3-line position location at 6, 7, 8, line position 9. Channel operation line position locations, high setting. Okay. Setting calculation, high center interference, position locations in Agelix. Agelix. True standard, he uses space-time and high position location calculations. As we get the angelic location, angelic line setting, high center position, right? Foundation, high center location, team line center. Get them better in communication setting. Put them in the archons, the Iconian line setting, high interference locations in the fallen angels. Set communication, high center interference. Put them in a videograph screen line setting and rotation setting. Put them in the track line setting. Open up the door position. All right, so now it's open calculation. The center communication system is now in a high line setting, okay, to your all positions PCU, CPU, and your DCP line setting. Get position location line setting, 30 minutes, have fun. Get in position line directions, what you get out of the foundation locations of the Arconians, set location Arcadian line setting locations to the Archons calculation setting. Then we get into foundation locations to the fallen angels, and then we get position locations calculations to all levels into your positions, how to defend your all calculations to your inner light setting. All right? Have fun. 30 minutes on clock location. All right. Setting calculations when you guys are doing that line setting rotations. So I really want to stay in the central line. Now, when we come into the setting line position, the high setting, you truly stand position locations, one line strip. Okay. Now this comes in position locations where Adam was in calculation, his CPU unit. So he's talking about, sir, I was just wondering, is it possible to understand one galaxy line setting in two division locations? Is it the male aspect or is it the female? Well, it's position location, the male and the female aspect location. That is the center communication of yin and yang process line setting. Okay. The 6 position locations in the line center of the program location is your moon emotional line setting. Each chakra system is a representation to your vision of the line. It's a cortex stream. You have to learn how to use it to your videograph line settings, guys. Okay. So you got 6 line position locations into 9 line setting. 9 comes into the center communication, all levels of dimensional line center rotation. Okay. So you have to learn how to use line setting. Now you guys are at 45 line setting out of calculations. You don't need to do this anymore. You can do this position. You can cross streams, high center line position locations. You go through half pipe calculations, 3/4 pipe position line setting, dimensional line center rotations, interference, indirect locations. You can do through channel anything line setting, calculation setting. So it's very powerful when you get out of position locations into higher levels of realms of dimensions, multiverse, multi-connect line setting, multi-layer division line settings, paranormal line center location, activity center interference locations, dimensional realms, angelic relics, sub-positions, new foundations, high center interference locations, golden castle, golden realms, golden arches. It's all kind of been modified inside line position of you. The more you understand the foundations of you through the angelics, the more you understand your position, location of directions to your journey and your missions. And that's why it's so powerful when you come into that calculation setting. But you have to understand all levels of its remembrance, because it's all memory that comes to you. Okay? Every day, everything comes to you through receiving line setting. Energy line center interference. Angelic REM communication setting. Wow, I got my rings. Nice. Energy. So the process is the basic understanding of the activation of the energy of what goes inside you. And when it goes inside you, it's connecting to what? Your chakra system. Now, the energy line center sets line position locations. So it's intelligence going inside line and trying to understand you through body frequencies. The vibration line center opens all graphing center, communication center locations, three-dimensional location, your stargates. So you're working with what? Your 12 foundation line settings, right? Those are your 12 strands. Those are your 12 rotations. Those are your 12 line center location of intelligence. Those are your 12 communications when it comes into inner chart calculation. It's all levels of phenomenon. Position, location, and direction is all also channel operation. Streaming centers is all position how you set locations to your setting lines. Coming into the agile line center in position, location, direction, high system, you don't have to go in the mind line setting because you're already there, right? I can set a tone to the angelics. You're feeling it. You're there through videograph, through a voice. You can send anything in line setting to all dimensional location, all center calculations. But the only way you can do that, you have to be balanced in all formation locations of travel in the male and the female aspects of you, of your space and time through its correlation. That's the only way you're going to understand anything through the angelics of you. Now, when you come into the astral calculation settings, you come into the astral projections, right? You start with the high settings. Now, the high setting line setting comes into lucid dreams, but you're not dreaming now. You're out of that correlation. You're now in a vision line connection to all levels. You're trying to understand your chakra system to higher levels. Okay. So that's what it is. That's 114 tone settings and calculations, all level division locations of dimensional setting. So you get into fluctuation line stream. Now, fluctuation line stream is all about the flux capacitor, right? That's a one line center locations, all position location equals equation line center, velocity interference, volume communication system, all graph stream line setting. You have to really get more into your information line setting, get into square, pocket setting line position location, 3-line setting, high center interference, 2 position locations, 6 position location of 7, 7 position of 8, 8 position of 9, 9 over cross line setting, 45-degree angle, line center rotations, Fibonacci sequence, bring it together, center communication. So there's a lot of connections that you have to understand how these things are set up for you, because it's all volumes of you through information, because it's all calculated how you use your awareness of its information, right? This comes in all communications to your correlations, right? Knowing yet, whoa, wings. This is wild. Your body's reacting. Why do you think you have a body? You need a body to react to. That's why you're in a body. A body, not the body, right? The center line, the position of all direction is all levels of emotional line center of your videograph locations of string settings that sets all communication setting to all low high line settings of tone communication, right? So understanding this gets you a better foundations of why you're in this division in the first place, right? So, all right, so where are we through position here? The angelics. All right, Tommy, how's it going? It's great to see you. Lindsay, calculations, Madeline. Nikki, Jill, Gingy, Don, all position locations. Airbender, Gypsy, all calculations. Belinda, Michaela, high center calculations, high center interference. Geneva, Andy, Sam, Pyra, Yolanda, calculations of Heather, arts, locations, let's see, Danielle, All right, chill calculation setting. Let's go to Rust calculations, Janelle. Calculations, Skyla, Val, McCall, data structures, Laura, Gingy, Pam. All right, so you guys are going through a lot right now. Okay, because you're a higher level setting right now, so it's easy for you to understand the trial locations and mechanisms of high setting. All right. Parameters of vortex defense security. Yep. Max. See, that's exactly what it is. You have communication settings, the more standard location and protection locations. So it's all line positions, how you use your protections of your inner light. That is number one, especially when you come in your dimensional setting, right? Because it's realms of confusion, it's realms of adaptation, it's realms of understanding, okay? And it's realms of all of the system locations of you. Your adaptation system has to truly understand the process of this, okay? To get all levels of knowledge of you in your memory setting into calculations and why you are as who you are, who you're becoming, where you're going to be, where am I now, how do I get there, right? It's all levels of you. It's progression. You're analyzing your system and you're trying to understand more calculations how you come into the psychological system of interface of you through the mind adaptation. Okay, it's the mind alteration, guys. It's the mind. Okay, the telepathy of your mind, the telekinesis of travel. You guys got into that position location in the direct line setting. It's a lot more easier now because you look at the simple terms of it. Simplicity is the best in communication system, especially when you're catapulting your catalyst to self-line setting, self-reliance, or self-destruction, self-motivation, or self-confusion. So it's all levels of you and how you see yourself in set system. Okay. So the more you understand the line settings of you, the higher adaptations of space, then you understand information. Right? You come into levels of memory, center calculation setting, interference location of channel, operation surface, operation calculation, operation triangulation. Operation triangulation is a very high rise line setting. Okay. But you have to get into triangulation first to understand what that is. So it's all levels of the avatar, understanding more levels of travel calculations to its shape. The geometrics operation of its design. That's a communication setting location to your conscious, the subterranean line setting in location position to the super of its consciousness. Consciousness is the involvement of you through its high line setting. To understand what it is all levels of its awareness. 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 Okay? All project locations of you feel so powerful. That's great. Yeah, I know, Don, because you got that upgraded setting locations. All right. That's an interline concept location, Val. How do you see the universe through unconditional love of shattered glasses? The only way you can understand line setting, the space line communications back to atomic location, is understand the space of you as division locations of male and the female aspects of you. Space is split in between, but it's the male and the female of its system. Space is all levels of male and female. Everything that you see is male and female of its own DNA. That's the only way you can balance anything in that line setting, especially if you're looking through shattered glasses. If you're looking through shattered glasses, you got too much male female line setting in position off track. So what the foundation is, so you got to scale it. You got to scale the centers in the center position. Universal line settings, all track interference, infinity off setting a high interference, too many communications off interference, line direct locations not calculated off high center, too many chakras and too many communication settings. So you're working with too many chakras all at once. The central communication system is all levels of 114. You can use 114 into one signal. Boom. Expand. Explore. Bandwidth. Okay, come to an expansion. That's setting location. Right? So the more you come into an expansion, the more you come into the evolution of you. Right? More windows, more calculation, more space in position location of your division line setting. And once you reach those correlation settings, once you understand the universal adaptation location of your mind setting, that your mind is also the male and the female aspects of its position, of its correlation, of its computer setting, then you understand the process. Okay? Because everything around you, and I keep saying that, is the male and the female aspect of balance, of its vibration. Your body track setting has to set position location how you see yourself. Too many thoughts to a highline setting. Not enough in position locations. That's too low. You got to bring in position locations. Communication in one setting, communication in another setting. Communicate with each other. All set in one communication system. They're communicating with each other and they're balanced. They're balanced because this is the male and the female aspect. This is the male and the female aspect. Center calculation, split yourself into position line center, space of time and pi is all calculated modified. One side position locations. This is left line. This is right line. This is left line of male and female. This is right line of male and female. Understand? Good. Now you understand the concept of position locations. Everything in sideline setting is all levels of balance calculations of yin and yang. Your process has to get the balance. That's all. All right. So practicing with my, communication setting, highlight setting, high interference, left direct locations. So you automatically will go right over to where you need to go through the angelics. So you'll be in a position of a circuit, center calculation setting. You guys will be set in your location, your simulators, and you guys will come into your committees. Yeah. Defend and knowing how to calculate and modify. So it's the defending to the offense, right? So that's a Trinity standing, how to come in at locations, right? Knowing exactly what you're doing is truly understand how to approach these things. It's not just the defend locations with what you're doing with your body or anything to physical. It's also that you can do it with adaptation location, your voice, sending signals at that locations. I didn't mean to say that. Oh, I forgot to say that. I don't remember what I was saying. I can't remember this now anymore. So in that position locations is all levels of how you see yourself through your thought locations of its memory. So it's to understand how you use the psychological interface of you and how you see yourself through volumes in your position location directions, right? Because you're always fighting your system inside until you understand the balance of you. Okay, that's all this is. It's adaptation of the mind, of the consciousness, trying to find the balanced communication of the male and the female aspects of you, of all your chakra locations to a setting, to all line center locations of letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. Whoa. Where did that come from? Peace of mind. Calming the mind. Right? So you get in position of quieting the mind, calming the mind, quieting the soul, calming the soul. There's all calculation modification settings. How to find your balance of you is how you see yourself through locations in your mechanism locations of travels. Your space division location is already set up line setting to its correlation of its mind line setting location to all levels of its memory. All you have to understand is to stay in the positive cycles of you and circulation. You have a rotation that's a continuous force that keeps going forward. Because if you're not going forward, you're going you're going back. And you don't want to go back because you get into you get into glitches. Right? So that's a Trinity standing when you come into all levels of division line setting. Then you get into sectors, then you get into vectors, then you get into quadrants. But let's start first. Ground formation line setting in high interference location or target locations and what they are through representations of you. How to use it is all formation. Okay. So once you understand that and you understand the thought process, Things get a lot more easier when you understand communications and what it is. Imagine that. I understand the thought. I know what it is. I had this position location. It wasn't a dream, it was a vision. And I understand what's going on because the brain understands what's going on. It has rotation spin cycle now. So it's understanding the indifference to the difference location, to its adaptation, to its coloration. Their program location of setting lines opens up visionary cortex line setting location of streams, inside location of you. So when you understand what a thought is, then you understand what a thought is through an image. Break these things down every single time you get up in the morning, especially when you come into numbers and you see these things. Everything that you see through a number is all levels of you. Now, I gave you guys a multi-passing calculation setting in position of live on TikTok, stating the fact that you have to really understand what your clock and what your time is to your position. Because the seconds on the minute and the hour is you. The seconds that's going fast, that's your avatar. The process of this communication truly standing from 0 to 9 in position, going to higher line setting. Why do you think it takes timeline setting to position locations? 1 minute, one channel operation of 60-second locations. 60-second locations, 60-minute hours of locations, 60 billion line center locations of travel line settings in your position locations of hour, minute, and its second location. The seconds is the travel location of the avatar. You understand why the time is changing. Why is the hour changing? Why are the minutes changing? Why are the seconds changing? Right? The balance of calculation is understanding the digital line setting. Once you understand that platform of communication system, you open all levels of you through track setting. Once you get in that communication system, all levels of numbers, letters, shapes, and symbols comes the process of DNA. The DNA processes its communication system of the male and the female aspects of location of its number. The alphabetical streamline center is set locations into all calculations into 26,000 lines of communication. 26,000 lines of communication. You got to break these things down one by one. Okay? Breakdown, 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 breakdown. Break down the letters, not the words that create the sentence. The letters that create the words, not the words, the letters. One letter is a process of its own position of male and the female aspects, location of your space, of your time, of your pie. One. Breaking these things down is a process of calculation. This opens up all levels of channel operation in your dimensional line setting, and then you understand the thoughts of communication when you come into your own representation in your system. Because then you understand what you're seeing when you're going through all levels of recalculating, remodifying, or getting into communications when you are recharging. When you're recharging, are you understanding what you're seeing? Now, the process of communication setting is all levels into calculations when you come into sleep mode. You come into screensaver, something comes on, right? Press the button, comes back on, right? So waking in this system is just the beginning of all process calculation. You're merging into line communications of your avatar to understand how to communicate to the body vibrational signals. I'm trying to get into the easiest format so you can understand all calculations. Yes, exactly. The clarification. And anybody can be triggered in that line setting if they allow their system. That's the only way it can get in position locations off communication. There's so much confusion line setting if you allow it. So I'm confused now through line simulators. And then all communication and personality comes in. What are you confused about? A simulator is a simulator. What's the problem? I don't understand. What is the simulation? Well, the simulation is all based on you and how you see yourself through project locations to your system. Excuse me. Line connecting is all line centered and how you use your position location to your chakra setting. This opens all levels of your mind adaptation to its position. Confusing, 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 confusing. So I'm allowing myself to confuse myself so I can understand myself. And once I understand myself, I understand the travel locations on my mechanism of myself. Do you understand what I'm doing here? Going back and forth, going back and forth, going back and forth. Try to get in that position locations because that's what you're creating. Okay. And again, this goes back and backline setting of its reference, not bringing it forward in position of force line setting locations and position locations and center line calculations, just bringing the reference of its past, of its alter ego, because that's what you're doing. Okay. The alter ego is created line center of you. Now, this is the vision line center that you are creating locations of what you watch and what you do and what you hear, what you see. The mantra communication is all of us of the Buddha. The Dalai Lama is the communication line centered and set location of the Vidigressing line set location of ancestors and history of you. You have to learn to dictate the center communication of the mind, of its set, of its tool, to understand how to get in position locations of silence. Silencing the mind opens all concept of knowledge of your memory communication setting. Now, tracking interference opens all calculations how you see yourself. How do you see yourself when you get up in the morning? In that position, location, directions, you come into all levels of your time. You're looking at your time, right? Now, if you look at line setting locations, entry locations. Now, we got 32 line setting into 0 of 7, 8, 9. So that position locations, now it's in 32 line of 1, 32 line of 2, 32 line of 3, 32 lines of 4. See what's happening? Changing timelines. So if you're having confusion to your sun or anything, your moon adaptation of where you are calculation, use your time because it has the hours, minutes, and seconds on its clock locations. Okay. So every time you get into modification setting, that's 3-line setting in 2 division, security line division, into 3-line setting, which is your calculations. You can go into your tracker system of 12 foundations, sets position locations. Now it was in a 3-line setting into Fibonacci sequence, but now it's in a solar generation light center because the time change. Now it's in 5 central communication system. Now it's in ground line center interference. Now it's in position location to its heart line setting. Now it's coming in calculations to system to locations of 33. Right? So everything that's in calculation high setting, because it's live right now, we got 42 line center locations, all of us that follow line rotations of viewers, and we got 14 thumbs up calculation. Balance in all calculations. So the clocking setting, is there any trace locations here? All right. I'm trying to show you what it is, position location directions. All right, so you got a clock line setting. All right, so we got 33. Okay. So you have to understand the space between line setting. Okay, let's just go through line center rotations of 40. All right, so the thing is, it's always going to change per second, per minute, per hour, right? The seconds always change that. That's the avatar. That's the avatar that's traveling through the seconds. So you're thinking, wait a minute, General, I'm confused. So if the 3-line setting in position location at 3-4-line center rotation of 0 gravity locations, why is the avatar at the end? No, it's at the beginning. See, you're looking at position location offsetting. You have to understand what the avatar is. It's all levels of seconds calculation, right? Because that's what it's doing. It's going from 0 to 9 in the high line setting to higher level calculations. 0 to 9, right? All right, so set position locations. Now it's at 3424. So reaching that same location, understand where it is through its timeline. So we get in 33, the line says you box its position location to calculations, right? Okay. So you know the automatic line set location is going to change position locations. You know that's going to turn into 4. You know that's going to turn into 4. And you know this is going to be constantly going to 0 and position location equals 9. Regardless, it doesn't matter. The hour, the minute, and the position locations, you concentrate on the seconds. You concentrate on the seconds, you understand the minutes of its hour, not hours of its minutes. Am I going forward or backwards? I'm going forward. So time, position, locations, all through acceleration line setting. So when you get into position locations, you guys get numbers all the time, right? 4 line setting, 4 position locations, right? So what's opposition? What's opposition? Right? It should be central communication of this, right? Thought, position, or recognition of timeline, right? This is balance. This is off balance. So one central line system has position locations into high line setting of 2. 2 position equals line candidates of 3. 3 lines location of 4. Right? Once I get in position, this comes into a portal of communication. 4, 4, 4, 4. Right? Now, if I go back in the position line directions, it gets a lot more confusing. If I do the same thing again, right? And then you're going to say, is it off balance or is it balanced? It's balanced because I already fixed it, which means the line communication is already done in position location to its 4-line channel operation setting. Done. See? You see it as a faulty mechanism of time. I see it already fixed in its result. The calculation setting line, division line, center rotation is your seconds, is the future calculations of U, which is your avatar stream. So the seconds is position line directions, the center communication setting, the clock locations, right? Let's start with that line setting, right? So get into calculations. You got the big hand, okay? You got the little hand, and then you got you in the middle line setting. So the one that's going in the middle line setting, that's you. Your avatar is going around. Okay? Your avatar is going around. Okay? So you're wondering why isn't it the big hand? Why isn't it the little hand? No, it's the seconds. So now you understand the process of what your avatar is doing every single day when you come into dimensional setting and position location to its dimensional line setting. That opens all communication to your computer interference. That opens all position location to your timelines. You're opening up timelines in your position location directions. Okay? The seconds sets the travel line setting of where you're going to be in direct locations to your journey to your locations in high setting. The minutes sets the line setting location to its position location to all level calculations. So then I'm getting together in a multipass. The seconds is the avatar travel. The minutes is position locations to what? The minutes is the position location to what? The center communication line setting is the sun communication. The hour line setting location is the moon. Hoo-ah. Setting communication setting is all levels of travel recognition of time. So you got the second locations, you got the minutes line setting, and you got the hour calculations, right? So the hour line setting location is the moon. The position location of minutes is the sun. And the system high center interference line position of second locations is your avatar. Very high rise and so many calculation stream settings. So now you understand the process, right? So your clocking setting is all line setting going forward in position location directions. So every time I look at the clock setting, I'm seeing the avatar traveling locations. Now, once it comes into 3 frames, 1, 2, 1, and then it comes into 4 frames, right? So it starts line position locations. You start with the 0 gravity, right? You start with your 12 foundations, right? That's in calculation. All right, so let's go through 121, all right? 1 hour and position locations. Now you got position line setting, all center locations, line conditions into your diamond core setting. Okay, it's a diamond. So the center calculation comes into north line setting. So it's on northwest center. Okay, one is on the north line center interference in your flux capacitor to your moon setting. Complicated, right? So the sun comes into all line center locations in position. Now it rotates its cycle, its center calculations. Now it's minutes on the dial. So you have to understand why position location on the clock. So the big hand is the sun and the little hand is the moon, and you going around is you through travel. Okay? Clock is different than a digital clock. There's an analog, okay? And there is a line communication of a watch. Watch position location is an analogical line setting. So try to understand the digital frame of its clocking setting to all levels of its watch. Okay? So once you get into that, you come into all position location of calculations, right? So your diamond core sets lines of north, it comes into line center location of east, it comes into west, and comes into south location, right? And so we got two line setting, which is line position location to what? This is where it comes into bracket setting, bracket location of security, right? So you know the two line setting set up security line position. Now one is the ground setting, right? So this is how I change position location directions into geometry line setting into all volumes. Remember how we come into line conditions into math and maps, how you come into add, subtract, and multiply and divide? It's the same thing, except the position location of direction line setting, the avatar is setting the line communication to travel. The position locations to all levels of its minutes is set location to its sun line, and the communication of its frame line setting of its time frame communication is its hour of its center calculation. Okay, so it's interesting to look at these locations, right? Right, huge multipass for you guys. All right, so get a position line directions why you're seeing these numbers in frame. It's a tractor beam that's setting your line connections, right? This is extremely high rise in all calculation. So truly understand that clocking and its dimensional setting is all levels of analogical line connections of its digital frame line position of a psychological interface location to your number sequence patterns. The calculation modification setting sets all position locations to your triangulations. Yeah, triangulations and setting locations. But the operation of triangulation is a very high rise division. So you truly have to understand how to use this, the map sequence location of coordinates, to get in your travel line centers to your avatar of its calculations of minutes and hours of its frame setting. Okay. All right, so we're all confused. I gotta be taken out. I'm on a huge phone call. Yep, set line position location, take Gypsy out, and all levels of protocol and interference, take rid of the angelic realm setting, all position of the circuit calculations of system, put our positions back in ground, perception lines. There you go, Gypsy's out. All right, multipass, blown to center calculations. Yeah, but that's it. It's just might over matter. It's all calculated modified high setting. But I'm just showing you the more you advance to how calculation setting, because you guys are coming into 60,000, 70 and up in position acceleration and capacity, you have to understand your clocking setting of your digital analog locations. Back forcing, high rising, high division line setting, forward locking, back locking. You have to understand these things. It's all position location to your avatar setting, right? So in calculation setting, when you come into three line setting rotations, it's going to 1, 1, 1. Time is 1, 1. Okay, let's get in that position. All right. So this is interesting to look at these locations. How you look at the sun, how you look at the moon. In all calculations. Let's go into vision. Rotation to its center line conditions. All levels of travel location. All right, so you got one position line, track line conditions. One. Okay. This is where you come into positive line setting. So one position location of positive equal line conditions of all levels. Underscore line conditions, right? So you can bring the positive line setting in position locations to indicate line setting locations into all levels. Underscore line setting. So you can bring an underscore line setting into the future calculation. So it gets a lot more confusing because now you're working with higher levels of travel communications to your galaxies. Galaxies is wind cycling and so many communications of its dimensional line, a rotation setting, in inference in direct locations into travel calculations in high force line position location direction. Okay, galaxies surface in so many line settings, right? So you concentrate on the seconds, not the hour, and not the minutes. Wow. So you're talking like it's in a reverse line setting and your guys are all confused position location, direct locations. No, it's the seconds and position line setting that brings it forward to calculations. That's how it's all levels of future calculation. Your center communication system is your direct line setting to your avatar. And that's why it's so important to look at the seconds of the clock. Right? It makes sense, right? The seconds is you through travel. Right? The operation center line center location is one division now. You got 5 channel operation streams in the heart line of heart reactor into 4 calculations to your solar plex location, which is your generator. So that's 45 positions and 22 line settings. 2 security line positions, all level system. So the seconds is going to keep going and going and going and going until you understand the minutes of the hour communication system to your sun and your moon setting. All right. You guys are reaching higher level systems now. Okay. This is going to give you a lot more understanding how the hours, minutes, and seconds work in your provision to your avatar connections. So, coming in on the line setting to all levels, high position locations of numbers 1036, 43, 0.13, 67.4, 67.17. So, you have to stand, those are coordinates to Val through communication to her travels and mechanism, right? So, let's get into 1030 line setting. Okay. All right, so the 10 line setting is high line centered to what? Into this location, into the galactic line surface. Okay, dome setting. All right. U brackets its position locations, all levels of channel operator stream locations. Okay, set communication. Now it comes in a 3 line setting. You box a 3 only in calculation setting and 0 gravity locations, 2 line position location of travel, and 3 line communication settings. All right. So 10 central line set location is 3. Now this is a Fibonacci swirl set communication system. So Val's trying to understand line set locations. She's going through 10 channels of operation, set calculations, equal line set locations, and position location of 30, set calculation. All right. So in that direct line setting, we go into sequence patterns into all center locations of 60. Let's get a position locations of 43. Let's get a position locations of 13 and identification of 6, 7, and 0.4. In rotation setting in 67.17, 67.17. Okay. That's a correlation. That's the coordinates that she's going through of Fibonacci line set locations into 10 line channels in equal line conditions to 30 position. Okay. So you have to learn how to use your numbers and all patterns, right? So, the thing is, you have your 12 foundations. We already know that high setting, but you guys are reaching higher levels of acceleration and capacity now. So you have to truly understand more lines of you through communication is the seconds, minutes, and hours, not the hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay. So you have to kind of like reverberate everything over to bring the seconds forward. The center calculation setting sets position location galaxy interference, sets position location your eye line center rotations of your sublocations. So what it is line center rotation, let's say it's 230. All right. You got the seconds on line setting right here. So that changes locations of 0 equal locations of 9. Right. So what happens is the position locations, all levels, 0 starts here line setting, brings it forward. So the 0 line position equals line conditions of 9. Right. Accelerates this line communications and position higher level system. So every time the seconds change position location, it changes the position location of its minutes, of its hours, of locations, hours of its minutes, minutes of its hours. Doesn't matter. What matters is what the avatar is doing through its time frame, through its seconds of its calculation. So you're bringing things forward in calculation of center communication, right? So that's what it is. When I'm looking at the seconds, it's not here. It's at the front. You understand? The thing is, the line communication is the avatar. The avatar sets the position location at the beginning, right? The beginning line center to your thought setting. So it gets really interesting too when you come into communications of levels of operation of triangulation. Operation of triangulation of clocking. That's what it is. Okay. So it's bringing the seconds into position to its front. I know you guys are all confused. We can set this up line center, good into quest locations. But it's true to understand all calculations of where your sun is and where your moon is in all true direction locations into your flux capacitor. Flux capacitor in calculation. All right, center calculations, all levels, for communication settings. Right? So it's on seconds on the dial, right? 0 line gravity, seconds in communication, right? 0 equal line center locations of 9. And that's never going to change. Your clock's never going to change that setting because it's always going to go from 0 to 9 to the next number, which is what? 2-digit, 3-digit, 4-digit, 5-digit, 6-digit, 7-digit, 8-digit, 9-digit, 10-digit, 11, 12-digit locations, right? The only thing you have to understand is the seconds on the minute, on the hour. Okay? So it's like reframing everything, line setting. Correlation line setting, you guys are all triggered now, which is a good thing because I'm breaking you down and bringing you back up in your avatar of your operation of triangulation. Hooah. So, how do you feel about that? Hooah. Makes sense, doesn't it? Because the thing is, you can change your numbers, sequence patterns, all line setting because your avatar is on a full communication of its dimensional set. So you have to get out of the operation of time. That's all you got to do. It's not, see, the time set line conditions, the physical line adaptation system is 5143, right? But the avatar line adaptation is not 5143. You understand? The avatar sets position location of what it is through its dimensional setting. And you have to truly understand that because it's all connected to your galaxies of travel. You have to look at the wind factors of calculation setting. You have to look at the course line activation streamline settings. You have to understand the digital frame communication system. You have to understand what you can do through vortex calculations. You have to understand what you can do through high setting location of chambers. You have to understand what you can do through leaping, time jumping, time leaping, time vortexing. You can change the number factor, high center interference of 20 minutes line center rotation in the future calculations. Boxes, position of time, tri-factor calculations over line setting. You have to understand what the seconds are. It's all levels of the avatar. Hoo-ah. All right. Because it's in line centers of what? 0 to 9. 9! It's you! So your clocking's backwards. Okay. Setting calculation stream settings, all position location is a direct line. Get in that position line, height center interference, you get your avatar locations. Breaking you down and bringing you back up. This is what happens when you go to higher levels of acceleration. Why do you think it's so important that you get in position of blast off? You go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's not 1 to 10, it's 10 to 1. Let me say that again. 10 to 1. 10 to 1, which is the beginning. You're blasting off, right? So you're starting out the very top number location, 2-digit frame length settings, right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. You're not going 1 to 10. You're going 10 to 1 to blast off. So what are you bringing forward? Your seconds, minute, and hours of the day location. Woo! This is going to break you out of 10-line setting, high interference location, the levels of your paradox, your paradigms, your polarity, and your polar shift locations. Time shift line setting into position location, center communication to your clocking system of your digital clocking settings. Ooh-ah. Wild, isn't it? So, all lines of sequence, sonic boom, incoming 1602, positive blast. But you understand that it's all calculation. It makes sense, right? So if that's the way you blast off, it makes sense that the seconds is actually the position location of the central communication, which is the center operation of you. So you bring the seconds forward, you get a position location center, then you send the calculations to your sun and you communication to your moon of your minutes and your hour calculation setting. Whoa. You see what I did there? Change line setting locations, right? Video screen sonic bloom. Thumbs up in that calculation. This is why we went through past the 369 to 789. We have access and must clear through 369 fully to be in 789. The also calculation 99.1. Yep, very good, Doc. But you have to truly stand. See, the thing is, guys, your clocking line setting is a Fibonacci swirl. It's in position location, two direct locations, all right? So you bring the seconds forward, right? Sets position locations into 0 equals locations of 9, okay? The 9 central system is always going to be traveling faster in calculation, right? That's always going to change the number. So the position locations is what? High setting location is position high setting to its minutes, right? So you got the position of seconds, minutes, and the hour line setting, right? And then when you go to higher line center locations, it comes into levels of seconds, hours, and minutes, not just minutes and hours. So you're fluctuating back and forth. The Fibonacci swirl is going one way direction into another way direction, another way direction, another way direction. It's going back and forth, right? So that's what you're doing is you're trying to balance out your communications of your time frames. So once you understand the seconds of the minutes of the hour line setting, then you get at a graph stream locations of your 7 days a week. Multi-pass. Getting you guys in position locations into your 7-week setting location sets you free in position. Brings you in all calculations to your settings. They know exactly come into that rotation, right? So it's a lot more fun of what you're dealing with when you get out a 7-day line setting in 7-week location, high center interference. So you go into 7 days into 7-week line setting. Okay. 7-week goes into 7-month line setting. 7-month goes into 7-year line setting. You see what I'm doing here? So it's all about not just going forward, but it's going back in your position location directions because you have to go back every single day. Why? Why do you have to go back? Because you're going into reference, right? You have to go into reference. That's why you have the past. The past becomes the present, and the present becomes the future. The past, the present, future come into one setting. One clocking setting of locations of seconds, minutes, and hours of your day. Hoo-wah. Whoosh. There's a line setting location of its equation that just blows your mind. Infinity in all calculation, all levels of boom. Skadoosh. So, all right, so I'm going to get you guys out of the angelic lines. High frame interference, high center interference location defending, and going through offense line setting. Bring you guys back in calculation high setting to all position location to ground setting. All level calculation. You guys are back. Close your portals. So in that line interference, we have a lot to discuss. Obviously, more confused than ever, the locations. But that's the truly stand that you have to get out of that equation because it's an old program. The physical adaptation line setting sees line locations in position, right? So it's, line center location, 58 minutes, line centers of hall center locations into second locations. So it's all line setting and line conditions. Now it's 11:46, right? But in direct line setting, high line center rotation interference, it's all levels of clock locations of time, okay? To get in that position locations, the seconds has to be forward. Now, when you bring the seconds forward, it really understands the position location motivation line setting to your time frame line setting. This opens all communication to your paradox and releases all positions to your pillars. You got 2 position lines here, 2 position lines here, and 2 position lines on back. Right? So you got 2, 4, 6. 6 pillars set in line position location to its moon setting. Okay? Center line communication is all levels of high center interference. In direct locations, you come into 3, 6, 9. Now you change 3, 6, and 9 to 6, 7, and 8. But how do you do that? Seconds, minutes, and hours of the day. Okay? So it's, every second is all, that's exactly what it is. So what you're doing is you're trying to do the seconds, okay, of your avatar. So every time you're setting a signal of a 1 second line setting, you're creating the thought communication to its travel location to its position line setting in position of 1 minute in frame location to its high center location of its hour. 1 hour. I said 1 hour. 1 hour. It's 1 hour. Right on the dot. Right on the dot. See, that's communication. That's balance. That's my computer adaptation system to 1 hour calculations. 1 0 0 in that calculation setting. 0 0. Hoo-ah. Coincidence? No. So this is how you communicate to your time of clocking, of operation, of triangulation. We'll get more into that, right? Through Zoom. All right. Inner child into consciousness and superconsciousness, the full merge of commanding your system. Yep. Well, yeah, it's all levels of full surrender. And this is where you really have to get into that position locations, because you have to get out of the overall locations that you're clocking and all levels of your watch. Digital analog line connection of clock and digital analog line rotation interference, and how you see the seconds, minutes, and hours of your daylight setting. That's the provisional location of the central communication, and that's how you communicate to all levels of your future activation high stream avatar system. Yes. Makes sense, doesn't it? Try to make sense of the line setting. Why is it so important to understand these things? 10-9, all the way to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Is it clicking in? Yes? No? Maybe so? See you on live. Center calculation, all levels of Zoom. Adios.